Well, welcome back. I hope you're ready to go to North America now. There we go. There's where we live, North America. Well, Mexico is also North America, but we're just lumping that in with Mesoamerica. Well, in North America, there is evidence of cultural groups dating to 12,000 years ago, arrowheads, etc. But most art evidence comes from the last 2,000 years, so it's pretty new. Several different areas are like the woodlands. Artists developed stone tools, and east of the Mississippi built some large cities with populations greater than 20,000. Again, this is not my area of specialty. I know a little bit more about the ancient Puebloans, but that's minimal compared to what's knowable. So let's look here. This is from a culture that I had no idea even existed. It's called the Glades culture. That is from Florida. It's the only piece we'll look at from them. And the only thing you need to get out of this is that it dates from about 1000 CE because it's going to show up on a quiz question. So just sort of think of it as the same time period as Ottonian art. Sorry. The thing I love about it is that it looks like the person who carved this was looking at an actual pelican and trying to recreate that in a piece of wood. So I think it's pretty amazing. I like it a lot. So early cultures in the East. This is from what's referred to as Mississippian culture. It thrived around 800 CE east of the Mississippi River in the fertile lands near the Ohio, Illinois, Mississippi, and Missouri rivers. The cultures cultivated maize and people traded widely with other regions. So it's very central. Um, and we're going to get some interesting things, some curious things out of the Mississippian culture. This is the first one. It won't show up on the quiz, but I think he's just very, very cute. It's a beaver effigy pipe. So this is the bowl of the pipe where whatever it is you're smoking, I'm sure it was legal, would be placed. And this is the drawing hole here. So as you put your lips around this, you'd be staring right into those pearly eyes of this little beaver. It's just, to function as a pipe, you don't need it to look cute, but it does look cute. So I think that's why I can't pass it up. Sorry. So this one is very interesting. This is from Ohio. It's called the Great Serpent Mound from the Mississippian culture in Ohio. It is 1,200 feet long, 20 feet wide, 5 feet high. It's the largest woodlands effigy mound in existence. There is no evidence of burial or temples here, but it's just a serpent that coils along this one part in a forest. I'm sure that there used to be forest all over the place. It may be associated with fertility. It's not known. So you can tell it looks like a snake. Down here at this end is the curling tail, and this is the open jaw, this thing that seems to be inside the mouth of the serpent has been called an egg. I don't know about that. I think it's really interesting that the date of this around 1070 CE places it at the same time, in the same general time as a sighting of the Halley's Comet. And this was observed by Europeans. So we know that it occurred around the time of the, the invasion, the Norman invasion of England, which was in 1066, because in the Bayeux embroidery, we saw a representation of the Halley's Comet there. So here it is on the other side of the world. Obviously, the comet would have been seen by everybody in the world at the time that it was flying over the earth, and it occurs for several nights. So there you go. That's the Serpent Mound. And then we have, and I think it's very misleading to have this windy river back here because it looks so much like the shape of the Serpent Mound, but it isn't. Maybe the Serpent Mound represented a river. I don't know. This is a reconstruction of central Cahokia of Mississippian culture. This is East St. Louis. Um, these people here built an urban center known as Cahokia, with major construction happening between the year 1000 and 1300 CE. So Cahokia was the largest city in North America around the year 1000, with more than 20,000 people living in it. There were 120 mounds at Cahokia. In the center, you can see that one really large mound that kind of resembles some of the big pyramids that we've seen in various places. Everybody seems to want to build these things. The Monk's Mound, anyway, that's been called the Monk's Mound, and it was the largest at 100 feet tall. It aligns with the sun at the equinoxes, and it may have been used as an observatory. The Monk's Mound had a rounded platform at its summit that supported a fence and a rectangular building. So look at all these little other sites, all these little mounds. I was like, what, did everybody live on a mound? And was that because the river flooded? I also noticed this enclosure over here, this round circle that looks like a ceremonial space of some sort. And down here also, something going on. I'm sure that there's a lot of information on Cahokia if you want to dig deeper into that. This is the way the Monk's Mound looks today. So you can see it's lost its former glory. And I'll bet they have a visitor center there that is full of information as well. Now we're going to go to the southwest. This area I know a little bit more about because I lived in the Four Corners area for a year. So pottery, let's go here. Let's look at this. Pottery was a well-established art form, best examples of which were made after 1000 CE. This bowl with scorpions and geometric forms is from the Mimbres culture from New Mexico, which existed very short culture, about 1000 to 1150 CE. It is ceramic, black on white, very stylized scorpions painted on the inside. Let's see, they ritually killed the pottery because broken pieces are found in tombs. So I'm not sure what's going on there. We're just going to move on. This is the ancestral Puebloans emerged around 550 CE in the Four Corners region, producing expressive works of painted pottery. Great houses such as Pueblo Bonito in Chaco Canyon were D-shaped and contained hundreds of rooms. All aspects of construction were done without draft animals, wheeled vehicles, or metal tools. So here's a map that shows this area is known as Four Corners because 4 states today come together in this corner because the way the state lines have been drawn. And this is the territory that was occupied by the ancestral Puebloans. But there were also other aligned cultures in these early years. And I would just point out in this map that the main sites of Mesa Verde, Chaco Canyon, the Gila Cliff Dwellings, and Casas Grandes do align in this north-south line. I think that's very curious too. I think there's a lot going on here that's very interesting. So I should also say that this culture called ancestral Puebloans in the past has been called the Anasazi, but that is no longer a politically correct term because Anasazi was the Navajo word for enemy. And so if you want to be PC today, you would call these ancient peoples the ancestral Puebloans. So this is in Chaco Canyon. I've actually visited this place. It's supposedly a sacred site. There's lots of, well, it was a canyon. There used to be a river running through there, which eroded the land, and these cliffs. And so the people lived here. It seems to have a lot of significance. We're going to look at this a little bit closer, but there was a terrible drought, and there was no rain, and the river dried up, and so there was no way that the people here could sustain their life. So they ended up moving away from here and moving up into Colorado, and settling in Mesa Verde and other sites around there. So this is older than Mesa Verde. So look at this, and you can see some square buildings, lots of rooms. These are multi-level structures as well. Like there were upstairs and downstairs. It almost looked like an apartment complex because it's just sort of this network of rooms. And then these big round rooms, I'm sure you noticed those. These are called kivas, and they were ceremonial spaces that were used by ancestral Puebloans and later indigenous groups. All use these round spaces for their ceremonies, their religious ceremonies, and they're often underground. So you would go down a set of or a ladder. You would go down a ladder into this space where a priest or a shaman would perform a ceremony, and it's not known really what happened there. And I'm going to show you several pictures. So I was really kind of fascinated by the kivas, and I visited a site in New Mexico that had reconstructed one, so you could actually go into it, and it was roofed over. It was really a special time. So this shows the wall of the broken kiva here, and what would have been an access point there, but it's gone. This is just a view from up on the cliffside looking down towards part of the ruins of the Casa Bonito, and shows some of the stonework here. Interesting, I think, that it's really finished on one side and not on the other at all. Maybe it was built at the very end when they were getting ready to leave. And here's looking down inside of a kiva here. This is a painting in a museum that was on a wall of a kiva, and it shows the thunderbird over here. It looks like a bald eagle, but he's bringing rain. This is lightning over here. So this was obviously rain and water are super important down in these desert areas. So here's a more contemporary piece of ceramic pottery. This was made in the 20th century, 1942. This potter Maria made exclusively blackware with sort of alternating glazed and matte finishes and patterns, but it's just traditional. So a lot of these traditional crafts that were practiced in the olden days by these indigenous groups are still done today. And this one, to me, has a very modern feel to it, but it's not. It's 19th century, but it includes feathers in a woven basket. And Navajo migrated to the southwest between 1100 and 1500 CE. According to their mythology, the universe itself is a weaving spun by a spider woman who taught weaving to changing woman who taught it to Navajo women. The tapestry weaving was created by Julia Jumbo in 2003 using techniques passed down by generations. So here's this is another craft that is practiced by the native people in the Southwest. It's weaving, and the wools are dyed. If they're dyed at all, they're dyed with natural dyes. This looks like it's all natural colors, so it would have been just the color of the fleece coming off of the sheep. Now, I'm going to leave again and go look at the eastern woodlands in this part of the country. I think we just have one piece from them, and it's a baby carrier from the upper Missouri River area, created by the Eastern Sioux in the 19th century. So it's the kind that a woman would strap on her back to carry her baby along. The Plains Indians were migratory. They moved around following the bison herds, and so everything was portable, everything was movable. And you can see patterns of decoration here, some antelope and some thunderbirds for protection on the baby carrier. And this shows their dwellings, the teepees that were like big tents covered with bison hides or buffalo hides, and just large sticks, and then they would collapse them and fold up the hides and move along to follow the herds. So that was their life, especially in the summer. So this shows a painted buffalo hide that you can see here, with picture of a battle scene and like little stick figures. You don't need to know that. Now we're going to move to the northwest coast. So the people who settled along the coast of Canada and Alaska and Washington State had a really distinctive culture. It's completely different from the other cultures. Their art style is way, way different as well. So this is a photograph showing a potlatch ceremony with dancing. So a potlatch was just a big party where a leader, a chief, would throw this huge multi-day party with feasting and music, and then he would give these extravagant gifts to, I guess, everybody who attended, just to show off how grand he was and how generous he was. So it's a potlatch. One of the favorite gifts after contact with traders was woolen blankets that came from trading posts. So they would trade animal skins for wool blankets. And when they had a big stack of them, then they would have a potlatch and give everybody a blanket. So it's pretty cool. So the First Nations of the Northwest Coast included the Tlingit, Haida, and Kwakwaka people. The chiefs held rituals known as potlatches to give valuable gifts to their guests to validate their status, as I told you. So this is a Kwakwaka people dance, people-eating bird masks in a ritual to initiate new members into the prestigious Hamatsa Society. This man, Edward Curtis, spent 30 years documenting such rituals as this. And you can see in the background, we've got totem poles. And this looks obviously like a big head with an open mouth. Each one of these is a specific type of animal, and they all have their own kind of style. I cannot tell you what they all are, but like there's bears and otters and eagles and whales, so these things all might show up. And then here's some of these birds with these enormous beaks, and the people would dance and tell stories that involve birds, and very cool stuff. So here's a bird mask, and this is illustrating the style of decoration. It's very stylized. Obviously, this doesn't look like a bird to us, but it did to them. And then these very clean graphic lines where patterns or shapes of red and black and orange and white are painted on here in a very, very graphic way, not at all interested in naturalism. Just pointing that out. So this bird will show up on a quiz. Notice the date. It's 20th century. I'm going to compare this with another bird and ask you which bird is older. And the other bird will be the pelican from Florida. So don't forget. I gave you a heads up on that. So here it shows a transformation mask, which is, I've seen a mask like this actually in action, where the story was about a raven who ate the moon, and that was their explanation for why sometimes there's no moon in the skies, because the raven ate it, and then you open up his mask and there was a representation of the moon inside. This is some sort of a transformation like that, where there's something inside of the bird. Very cool. So textiles of the Chilkat Tlingit and had great prestige. Men drew patterns on boards and women wove them into blankets. The popular design here is the diving whale. Precise identifications and meanings have not been established. Ovoid and form line shapes are characteristics of Northwest painting. So, yeah, if you can see a diving whale in this, you're seeing more than I am. You can see a lot of eyes, right? You can see a face in the center. This one's a little bit clear. This is a modern one. I just wanted you to be able to see somebody wearing a blanket. So this is in there. Great fringe. Very similar face down there. So we have reached the end of the Americas, and now there's just some poll everywhere questions for you to get that information that would appear on your quizzes. So you need to know what people made that. Oh, I think I forgot to put the answers in here. Sorry. I've been so busy. This is Olmec, so the answer is C. I'll tell you the answers. I copied everything, but I didn't put the answers. So where did the Maya live? Remember, I even prepped you on that question. Those are your choices, so decide what you're going to answer. The Maya lived in Yucatan. What two animals are on the Mexican flag? Also prepped you for that one. I hope you got this. If you said eagle and snake, you got the right answer. Eagle and snake. Now, true or false? This bird head is made in the traditional Navajo style. Is that true? Navajo. The answer is false. And a fun question that will not be on the quiz. Where was this little fellow made? You can answer this if you took notes or if you read the text. Look at the material. It is gold. If you saw gold, oh, you did see gold in only one culture, right? Peru. Okay. That's it. So, good luck.